Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel for another quick tutorial. Today we're going to be making plant labels using these wooden stakes and the Cricut Joy, along with some permanent vinyl and transfer tape or iron-on vinyl.
This is a super easy project and great for beginners.
Let's head over to Design Space and start creating. We're going to start on the blank canvas of Design Space by creating a guide. So if you haven't used the guide function yet, you can create any shape you like. Since I'm using a rectangular wooden stake, I'm going to create a guide that is the same size. So my stake is 1 inch by 11 inches. So to change the size, I'm going to click this unlock icon here, and then you'll be able to drag the box to whatever size you like. I find that can sometimes be difficult. I prefer to just go up to the top header into the size section and change it with width and height. So the width, I would like it to be 11 inches wide and 1 inch tall. Now right now this is a basic cut layer, and you would be able to make it if you clicked on the Make It button. We don't want that. I just want this strictly as a guide so I can see what the writing will look like on the wooden stake. So to change it to a guide, you're going to go back to the top header, to the operation box, select the box, and then the guide option. You'll notice that the right-hand side will change from basic cut to guide, and that the Make It option is now gone. So this won't cut, it's just to give you an idea of what the final project will look like. Next, you're going to want to head over to the sidebar and choose the text option. I want to make some markers for tulips today in both English and in French. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to do the same thing for a couple of other words. So if I go up here and bring the word over my guide, you can see that right now it would be too large. So if I were to just click Make It, the letters would not fit on my stake. So we're going to have to change the sizing of the letters. I like it whenever they're around 0.85 inches. So I'm going to unlock the shape for the text, and then I'll be able to make it a little bit smaller and a little bit longer at the same time. You don't want to make it too long and it looks weird. Perfect. So I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I want everything to match these dimensions. You can unlock it with the unlock icon here or the unlock option in the size panel. So I want all of my text to be 0.85.
If you want to change the font, you can select the text layer, go up to the top header, and select the font box. I really like the font Honey Syrup from Cricut, but it's up to you if you want to look through all fonts, search the fonts that are available on your system or fonts that you've downloaded, or to browse through Cricut fonts.
Now for the guide, I'm just going to duplicate this one for the next and for the next. To create new text, you can either click the text icon here again, or click the text you've already created, duplicate it, and then change the text. I'm going to repeat the same step as before, making sure that it's around 0.85. Because I duplicated the one above, it will have its dimensions, which I find is a little quicker than creating the text box each time and then changing the dimensions again manually. And last but not least, we'll do our cucumbers. Now when we click make it, it won't cut the guides, it'll only cut our text. So everything in French I want to put into iron-on vinyl, everything in English I'll cut out of permanent. So to select more than one layer at once, you're going to want to click the layer, hold down Shift on your keyboard, and then click the other letters that you want to group together. Now that I have these three selected, I can change the color by coming up to the top header in the operation box. Right beside, you'll see this color swatch. You can click the swatch and select any color you like. Now when we click make it, we will have two different matte options that appear here on the left-hand side. Whichever one I want to cut out of iron-on vinyl, you have to mirror. So it doesn't matter. We'll leave the English one permanent vinyl and we'll do the French one in iron-on. So we're going to want to mirror it. So by mirroring it, it will reverse the image. This is to make up for the fact that you're loading the material upside down. So you'll see in just a moment what I mean by that if you haven't used iron-on vinyl yet. So the matte number doesn't really matter. It's going to cut this one first because I have this one selected. If you don't touch anything and make no changes, it will cut in the order from top to bottom, but as soon as you click them and start editing or making changes, whichever one you have selected will be light gray, and that is the matte that's going to cut on the machine. So we'll do the iron-on vinyl first. Once we select the Smart Iron-On option, it will give us this little reminder to make sure that mirror is turned on and that the iron-on material is shiny side down or plastic side down. So Cricut's really great at giving you these little reminders every step of the way. If you are a beginner, it's super helpful. Whenever anything is happening with the Cricut Joy, it will blink to let you know that it is waiting for approval to do something in Design Space or for you to click to go to the next step. In this case, it's waiting for us to load the material. So in Design Space, those are the prompts that it's giving us to make sure that the fine point blade is in the clamp and then to load the material into the machine. Unlike the other machines or the Maker 3, this one won't tell you if you have the wrong blade in. So if there's no blade or the wrong blade, it'll still continue to do whatever it was doing. It does not recognize the blades. So this is the iron-on material. You'll notice that one side is very shiny and one side is matte. So this is the plastic heat transfer carrier sheet. It's made to protect the vinyl from melting once heat is applied. You always want to put that side face down or on the mat when it goes in the machine. As soon as the machine passes the little white pieces here on the Joy, it's going to start loading the mat. So you have to, or the material. So you have to keep pushing until it touches the little gray wheels inside here, and then the machine will take it the rest of the way. But you can't stop pushing once you start. Over in Design Space, you'll need to press Go to start the cut. Anytime the Joy is blinking, Design Space will always tell you what to do next. I'm going to cut off any excess vinyl. I don't want to waste any material. This just helps me see the extra lines and anything I'm removing, especially from this angle when I'm a little further away for you guys to see. And we're going to turn on our Mini to the second heat setting. It doesn't take very long to get hot, and we can cut these up so that they're able to be applied one at a time. You always want to make sure to keep the back of this vinyl clean. You don't want any hair or dust getting onto it. If you're going to keep it around a while, I like to put it in an envelope or something, just because anything that gets on the back will prevent the glue or the adhesive on the vinyl from properly adhering once it heats up. If you haven't used an easy press before, or you're unsure about what temperature, you can't remember, it's really not worth trying to remember because there is the Cricut heat guide. So to find this, you can just Google Cricut heat guide, but really it'll tell you step by step what you need to do regardless of the tool you're using or the material. So in our case, we're using the Easy Press Mini. We're doing the Everyday Iron-On, Smart Iron-On. Our base material is wood. This is also a nice way to know what is compatible if you're not really sure. You're wondering, can I put iron on burlap? Yes. Or on cardstock? Yes. So this is a great way to just get a quick list of what is compatible as well. So once you click apply, it'll give you all of the steps that you need down here. So we're going to use the second setting, medium, to apply onto wood. Now it is ready. You can tell it'll turn from orange to green. And with the Easy Press Mini, you're really moving it the entire time. So unlike the big ones where you keep it still, you might not notice the change, but in person, whenever you iron it on, you'll see a difference in the color or the depth of the color immediately. If when you lift up this piece of plastic, the letters come up, it's not pressed enough, you just press again. Back in Design Space, it'll be prompting us to cut our second mat, which we don't need to do any changes to or mirror. So you'll see here that the number 2 mat has a check mark, it's been cut. The light gray mat is what's being cut right now. So for this one, we're going to select again Smart Vinyl, but this time permanent. So the Smart Permanent Vinyl has the paper backing with the green grid lines. So green is always for permanent, gray is removable if you don't have the packaging. But as soon as we put it under these pieces, we have to keep pushing. It's going to start taking the vinyl to cut. I prefer to put the transfer tape on once it's still in one piece without cutting it. It just saves me from having to do it 3 separate times compared to just doing it one time. Anytime I'm using transfer tape, I always do the hinge method, which is applying a small piece to the table before applying it to the vinyl. This will help prevent any bubbles from appearing. So to do this, you're going to remove a tiny piece of paper. So about 1/2 inch to 1 inch, you're just going to peel back. Once you have a tiny piece of the corner, there's really about a finger's width, so 1/2 inch of tape that is exposed, and I'm just going to fold the paper down. So you can see this little bit of overlapping tape here. So this is the piece that's going to touch the table. There's nothing at all attached to the decal yet. It's just tape on the table. So if I were to lift this piece up, this is completely movable. With your scraper, you're going to push at the same time as you remove the paper. So as soon as you take the paper off just a little bit, you'll be able to push with your scraper. This is just making sure that there's no bubbles that get in. If it's not moving or you're having a hard time getting it to move, you can always pull it slowly, but you want to make sure that you're pressing with the scraper at the same time as you're pulling. If there's bubbles in your transfer tape application, there'll be bubbles when it comes time to apply it onto the final destination. Now we can cut it in separate pieces, and we'll use that same method, that hinge method again, to apply these pieces. So I'm leaving the excess tape at the end. You always scrape the top, flip it upside down, scrape the bottom, and then peel the paper off the tape. If you try to peel the tape off the paper, it doesn't always release. Especially in this case, you see I put a brand new blade in and it cut the layer very deep, so the paper is cut behind the vinyl. So if that happens, doing it the opposite way, it's very difficult to get it off. You want to make sure that you're bending the paper and not the tape whenever you're doing this. You want to make sure that just the hinge is going on, so you're not putting the vinyl, it's just the transfer tape that's touching. There's no vinyl that's touching the wood, and then you're going to use the scraper straight across to apply it. Because if you just let it fall right down onto the wood, there's air and bubbles that get trapped in that vinyl. And same thing when you're removing it, I like to use the scraper against the tape because it can still lift it, especially on a surface like wood, like this little heart that's just lifting here. With that scraper, and I'm actually using the scraper, none of that stuff will come up. So I'm not sticking it down, but I'm just placing it to make sure that it's straight. Applying that hinge.